So she ends up spray painting. I think it says bye. Is it say bye? I think is what it ends up saying. And so people were really like, there was a lot of news outlets that were saying that she is like basically fat shaming her former self. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about Lizzo. We have not talked about Lizzo in a while. I believe the last time we talked about her was when she was first kind of named in that lawsuit that her former dancers kind of filed against her and her touring. I think it was a touring company that she was part owner of, where they were saying that they were like fat shamed and harassed sexually, and I think that lawsuit is actually still going on, but Lizzo's name has been dropped, but I think the touring company is still being named in that lawsuit, so that's still ongoing. But that was kind of the last time that we really talked about Lizzo. And I think it's interesting because really since that whole thing took place and started happening, Lizzo has kind of been pretty quiet on social media. I think part of it was because the court of public opinion was very much so not in her favor, especially when this stuff first came out. A lot of people were very upset. And I think rightfully so if all of the allegations are true, but there were a lot of people that were pretty upset with her because, again, she was always the self-love, love yourself. If you're a bigger girl, a bigger woman, you should still do everything that you want to do. And that was kind of a big part of her persona. And it kind of always has been, right? Her self-love, a lot of her popular songs, that was a big focus on that, right? And so, but since that lawsuit kind of came out, she's kind of disappeared. Not completely from the public eye, but at least to the extent that she was at, right? So she hasn't been posting as much, but very recently there have been some posts that she has made that have garnered her a lot of attention, and a lot of people are talking about her again. And so before we get into the very recent stuff, I did want to kind of take a step back and go through the whole history of everything that's kind of gone on since everything that happened with that lawsuit, and just kind of share when she did pop up in the public eye, what she was talking about, what she was doing. And so without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about here is from E! News, and it goes on, Lizzo reveals weight loss in before and after photos. So let's go ahead and see what this is all about.
Lizzo shares she's feeling good as hell. The singer takes to Instagram September 18th to show off her noticeably more trim figure in a transformation video.
This person that is narrating this, or this AI or whatever, is like, it feels like nails on a chalkboard to me.
The fact that you would even discuss my looks is insane. I'm a bad bitch. Always been a bad bitch.
But one thing that hasn't changed is Lizzo's body positive attitude. As she captions the post,
I mean, she has lost this, even here, right? She's lost a significant amount of weight, and so I think that's awesome, right?
Fine both ways. Comments then quickly started to roll in, with social media users accusing the pop star of using Ozempic to drop the pounds. However, Lizzo is now responding, showing she doesn't care if the truth hurts.
Jesus, dude. I'm sorry, this narrator is horrible. Great job to Lizzo for losing the weight, and I'm so proud of her, and that's awesome. It's like, if this is a real person, please stop. Do a different inflection or something.
The 36-year-old takes to her IG September 20th, writing, "When you finally get Ozempic allegations after 5 months of weight training and calorie deficit."
So I do think that that's interesting, right? So that's basically saying I'm not on Ozempic. I don't know if I've seen anywhere where she says I am not on Ozempic. It's usually, from what I've seen, it's kind of like veiled in this way, where it's like I'm getting allegations and I'm weight training and in a calorie deficit, which, if she's doing that, that's incredible. But it is interesting, right? So there are a lot of people that are obviously saying that. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember a few months ago, South Park came out with a whole episode about Lizzo and Ozempic. It was this whole thing. And she was a pretty good sport about the whole thing. But I am curious, like, if really it's not Ozempic at all. If it's not, that's awesome. If it is, it's awesome. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much.
And if you still didn't believe that Lizzo's been in the gym working on her fitness, the Grammy winner then provides proof, sharing a video of her workout routine along with some hilarious voiceover commentary.
And I think like when it comes to losing weight, that's one of the things where I think people get a little too in the weeds, especially about like, oh, you have to be working out and like killing yourself in the gym. I think if you're a larger person, and Lizzo is pretty big, right? I think she's pretty tall too, but like if you're larger, you can make significant progress without killing yourself in the gym. You can make significant progress just by your diet, right? Like you're only super overweight because your diet is bad. Like no one that has a really good diet and isn't overeating is going to be severely overweight, right? Like that is a fact. If you are very large, your diet is just you're eating too many calories. That's everybody, right? There are plenty of people that are bigger that still work out, that are still bigger because they're eating too many calories. And there's plenty of people that are thin that don't work out at all that are not eating too many calories. That's why they're not overweight, right? So like, the main thing that anyone needs to focus on if losing weight is the most important thing to them is the diet. That is where it all comes down to, right? Not all, like obviously working out is important. I love working out. I'm not saying you shouldn't work out. Strength training is super important, working out, moving your body. But I think it's funny when people are like, oh, you need to be going to the gym. You can lose a significant amount of weight without going to the gym. It's not completely necessary.
Look at those abs. Somebody called me skinny on the internet. I said, bitch, where? If anything, I am thick, fat and thick. That is FHICK. Anyways, let's get into this workout. I don't know what any of these moves are called. I'm exhausted just looking at it. Look at the body. The body bodying. The body bodying these bitches.
This health update from Lizzo comes less than a month after she announced to fans that she was going to take some time away to focus on self-care. Sharing a video
Well, I think a big part of it was those allegations that were going around.
August 25th of herself standing in the rain in the middle of a forest writing, "I'm taking a gap year and protecting my peace." Last year, the performer was hit with a lawsuit from 3 former backup dancers who accused her of creating a, quote, hostile, abusive work environment and weight shaming them during their time working for her. Lizzo later denied the allegations, saying in a statement posted to her social media accounts, "There is nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world."
I wonder if we will ever completely find out what exactly was going on with that, like behind the scenes, or if they're going to end up like settling out of court and we're not going to figure it out. But I am very curious because, there are plenty of people that are like, oh, they're just doing this because they're trying to get, they're trying to get money. They're trying to get a bag from Lizzo. It just is so interesting to, if that is the case, for you to go to the point of like saying we were fat shamed, because that is so antithetical, is that the right word, to what Lizzo has always said, right? And the public perception that she has portrayed online is so not that. And so it's just so interesting to me why they would decide to pick that as the thing that they're going to put in the lawsuit, and why that was a huge reason why they're filing it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the answer, but it's interesting that they would choose that, right?
"I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight."
So that's the first video on what's been going on. So let's get into the next one. So this next video, she is talking about her diet that she kind of recently changed. Apparently she was a former vegan. She was like plant-based for a while. And here she's kind of explaining what she's doing now.
I try a Japanese diet because it's one of the healthiest diets in the world, and it has some of my favorite foods.
Lizzo is breaking down what she eats in a day amid her recent health transformation. The 36-year-old is detailing her daily meal plan while explaining that after trying veganism, she adapted her diet to include animal-based proteins after discovering a different culture's approach to eating. Lizzo says this in her October 10th Instagram video.
What I eat in a day as a former vegan who added protein to her diet. My reintroduction to protein started with Japan. Someone suggested I try a Japanese diet because it's one of the healthiest diets in the world, and it has some of my favorite foods. When I got to Japan, I was in awe at how clean and delicious their food was. I indulged in fresh sushi and fluffy egg, and I was amazed at how good my body felt the next day.
Yeah, there's definitely quite the difference between a Japanese diet and the typical Western diet. I think the thing that's the most important thing is like whenever you are considering changing what you're eating and the type of food that you're eating is like, no one diet is going to be like, this is the thing that's best for everyone, right? You have to find out what works for you. And I think like that's something that like I'll get a lot of questions from like clients of mine or just people on Instagram and stuff. And it's like, what's the best thing to eat? What's the best thing for weight loss? What's the best this? What's the best diet for this? And it's like the most important thing is that you decide for yourself after trying certain things. Now, obviously there are like good practices, like eating 15 Reese's peanut butter cups is probably not the best diet for you, I would say, but like you know, like you might see this and think, oh, I would never be able to do that. I don't like this food that she's eating. That's fine. You know, you don't have to like hone in on this exact thing and this is the only way for you to be successful in your weight loss. That's something that I get frustrated with and why I personally am not a huge fan of like very restrictive diets where it's like you can only have this thing, right? And you can only eat this amount, because every person is different and everyone's needs is going to be different. I would even say with Lizzo, right? Like her needs are going to be different versus when she's just, you know, in Japan visiting and walking around versus if she's doing going on tour and performing every single night. Her diet is probably going to need to be different. She's probably going to need to eat more calories when she's on tour to be able to sustain that amount of activity, right? Like everyone is different, and like your diet is going to fluctuate, and that's completely normal. And so I'm sorry I kind of went on a rant here, but whenever I see these like full day of eatings and this is the best way, this is the best diet, I stopped doing this and I started doing this. It's like, again, that is what works for you. And I don't want people to put too much stock into seeing these videos and thinking, oh, I need to make this huge change, right?
And that led me on a journey to figure out how animal proteins affect my body.
And although her current diet includes animal proteins and products, Lizzo shares that she hopes to adjust that one day.
After tests and research, I found that animal proteins helped me have more energy, lose weight, and helped with my mental fog. I do believe that the vegan diet is still the healthiest diet to have, and I aspire to one day be a raw alkaline vegan.
Oh man, like, dude, I don't like talking about this because people get so up in arms. I think it's like the reason that I think a lot of times people that were former vegans are now I'm so much healthier now that I'm not a vegan. I don't think it, and this is coming from someone who is not a vegan, okay, who has never been a vegan. But I don't like when there's too much slander on it because I do feel like a lot of times it's a little bit unfounded and a little just unnecessary. I think that a lot of times the reason people do not thrive on a vegan diet is because the planning that they're putting into their diet is not sufficient. And when you are doing a vegan diet, it does require more planning, in my opinion, because a lot of the protein sources that you're going to need to find are not as readily available. And it's just a little bit more difficult, right? You're not able to just have some eggs and some chicken breast and there you go. You're going to get a lot of your protein in that way, right? It's going to require a lot more work, a lot more forethought, a lot more effort on your part to make sure you are hitting your micronutrients and your macronutrients, right? Like it just requires a lot more work. And I think for a lot of people that are a little bit more ignorant to that stuff, and I don't mean that in a bad way, they end up thinking that, oh, I'm just going to be vegan and then I will be healthier. It's not necessarily the case, right? I think that if you want to be vegan for your own choices, that's great, but understand that it's not, again, like any diet, it's not going to be some like, I do this diet and then now everything is better and I don't have to worry about it, right? You have to put in the work for yourself to figure out what works for you, no matter what diet you're on. Right? Okay, I'll stop ranting.
Until then, this is the diet that's helped me reach my goals and helped me feel good in my body.
Additionally, the Grammy winner adds that she approaches health and nutrition for others without judgment.
I'm aware how people could take this and how it can make them feel. But I'd rather be honest and share my story in my own words. Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, white meat only, or fully carnivorous, I'm not going to judge you. Do what's best for you in your life at that moment. All that matters is that you're happy. And if you're happy, I'm happy.
The singer's latest update is one of many recent videos Lizzo has shared while on her health journey. While on the Stairmaster in an October 3rd TikTok video, Lizzo shares this reminder for others who have set health and fitness goals.
Sometimes when you want to give up, it's really because you've just been pushing yourself too hard. Don't give up, just take it easier on yourself and you'll get through it.
I mean, honestly, that's pretty good advice. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think a lot of times, a lot of people are a little all or nothing when it comes to fitness and nutrition. And I think that ends up being a lot of people's like Achilles heel, and they really struggle with that because a lot of people, when you're first starting, you have this immense amount of excitement because you are super motivated in that moment, right? Like you're like, I'm going to freaking do this, right? We see it a lot with like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. But a lot of times that ends up being a failing point for people because they're like, if I can't do everything and be as excited as I was at the start, then I'm not going to be successful and there's no reason to. When I think it's just like, it's worth doing it when you don't feel like it and doing it when it feels like, I don't know if I can really do this right now, or I can't put in my full effort. Like as long as you're still trying, it's worth it, right? So I think that's good advice.
You'll reach your goal. Have a great day.
So it's so interesting to me, right? Because a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now is just so different from what we were seeing before. And I feel like it's a really common thing when we're talking about people that are like into the fat acceptance or body acceptance, body positivity movement, is these people that were prominent in there once they get a little bit older and they realize that some of the stuff that they're saying, they no longer feel that way. It's like, how do you take a step back from that without being called like a hypocrite? And I think, Lizzo, I don't think that she's fully been able to get out of it unscathed. There are a lot of comments, like if you go to a lot of her posts and stuff, where people will say like, what happened to being positive about being in a bigger body? And like, that's one of the biggest problems that I think a lot of people have. And I tell people that they should be worried about is when you put too much like stock in one person, right? It's like, I guess you could call it like a parasocial relationship where it's like, this person is my everything, right? Lizzo is the person that I look to, and because she's positive and confident in her body, I can be positive and confident in my body, right? Which when you just hear it like that, it's like, well, that's a good thing, right? Yes, but when Lizzo decides that she wants to lose weight and she starts taking those steps, a lot of people start to feel disenfranchised and they feel like they've been ripped away from this relationship that they're having. And then they feel like they've been treated badly and they've been lied to when someone is on their own journey as a person and they've decided, hey, maybe, I need to lose weight. Maybe focusing on my health is actually important to me. It's something that I need to do. And then they start doing that. These people that have attached themselves to the, body positive Lizzo, they feel some sort of like they feel bad. They feel like they've been lied to, and it's really hard for them. And so it is very interesting seeing, her being happy and then some of the comments almost upset with her for being happy. Now, this is a little bit more of a recent video. It says Lizzo shares she's met her weight loss goal amid transformation journey, right? And so this is again from E! News.
I did it. Today I stepped on the scale and I met my weight release goal.
Lizzo is celebrating a major milestone. The singer announces that she's officially reached her weight loss goal, sharing the exciting news on her Instagram January 25th.
I did it. Today I stepped on the scale and I met my weight release goal. Told y'all I was gonna bump like this. Y'all didn't know that I could bump like this.
Again, it's just so interesting seeing this versus a lot of the stuff that made Lizzo popular was literally like basically the complete opposite of this, right? And so, there's a lot of people that are not happy about that.
Let this be a reminder that you can do anything you set your mind to. Now I guess it's time to set new goals.
And while Lizzo admits she doesn't think she fits society's standard of skinny, she's still happy with the progress she's made.
I mean, I don't even think that she necessarily, like, that's the thing, right? Is like, if you're losing weight, you don't have to go from being, very overweight to being like freaking rail thin. I would say that most people that are, especially if you've been overweight for the majority of your life, I think trying to be rail thin is, one, just unnecessary, and two, it's like, I don't think your body is going to want to be that tiny, right? And a lot of times I see people that have lost a lot of weight and they just look deflated. It just looks painful for them, right? And a lot of times it's very hard to maintain that. And then people go from being at this level of leanness that is unmaintainable. There's no way you can stick to that. Then you gain 10, 15 pounds, and now you're at a weight that's probably a lot healthier. But because you have been, super crazy lean, you feel that you are failing because you're not as lean as you once were, even though you're at a probably healthier weight, right? And then because you feel that you're failing, you're always chasing that dragon, right? You're always chasing being as lean as possible, as lean as possible, as lean as possible, as lean as possible. And you're doing things to hopefully get you down to that weight, whether it's severely restricting calories or doing unbelievable amounts of cardio and just like trying to sweat and work out and do all this stuff and to get back to this number that is not something that you should be chasing, that is not healthy, that isn't a benefit for you, right? And then you end up sliding back and gaining even more weight and even more weight. And then the shame piles on more and more and more until you've gained all of the weight back. Then you've gained even more weight back on top of that, right? This is why I tell people, like, you don't have to get to be incredibly thin. I think where Lizzo's at now is completely fine. I think that like the weight that she's at now is much, much, much healthier than where she was at the start. And there's no need. If she wants to lose a little bit of weight, obviously she can do whatever she wants, but there's no need to get insanely thin. Unless that's something that you want to do, then obviously, everyone can make their own decisions.
At the end of my weight loss journey, I'm not going to be considered thin by any means. I will still be considered morbidly obese on the BMI, and little bros on the internet are still going to call me big backed, but I will be happy.
The 36-year-old proudly posts more pics of her body transformation, writing, "I did it. Today when I stepped on my scale, I reached my weight release goal. I haven't seen this number since 24."
Weight release goal is kind of weird to say. I don't know if that's something maybe you don't want to say weight loss. I don't know what that's all about, but the weight release is kind of strange, but I don't know. Maybe people can inform me in the comments.
14. Let this be a reminder you can do anything you put your mind to. Time for new goals. Lizzo first revealed she was on a weight loss journey back in September, sharing various videos of her working out in the gym and documenting her progress along the way. However, her road to better health hasn't been without its bumps. The Grammy winner faced numerous accusations that she was using weight loss medication to aid in dropping the pounds. However, Lizzo was quick to clap back at the rumors with a tongue-in-cheek video posted to her IG September 20th.
So again, like you see, right? It's the same video that we already saw when you finally get Ozempic allegations after 5 months of weight training and calorie deficit. So she doesn't say she's not taking Ozempic, but that's basically what that means. And so I guess I'll just take it at face value and be like, if you're not taking Ozempic, then I think that, Lizzo's done a fantastic job, and that's really awesome. But now we can get into the more recent thing that has happened that has had so many people talking, and I had a few people send this post to me. So this is the post right here where she's obviously lost a good amount of weight, and it says the end of an era, and she ends up spray painting over, I think this is the front of the cover of one of her albums. So she ends up spray painting, I think it says bye, does it say bye bitch? I think is what it ends up saying. And so people were really, there was a lot of news outlets that were saying that she is basically fat shaming her former self because she's saying bye to
Bye, bitch.
So basically she's saying bye to her fat self, and now, she's no longer, fat anymore. She can basically almost make fun of herself, her before self. And it was actually, there were people I saw on Twitter where people were like, ex-fats are the most fat phobic people. And I just thought it was interesting because I was like, when I first see this post, my initial reaction is not, oh, this is because she hates her former fat self. I think the biggest thing is that she is probably trying to distance herself from that former version of herself, because I think so much of it was her size and loving yourself at any size, when she's obviously changed that about herself. She worked on herself a lot, and I don't see it as I hated my former fat self. It's I am in a new era of my life, and I want to celebrate that. And then obviously she is an artist, so she probably is going to be releasing something new. I'm assuming that that's what this whole thing is about, right? Is new music coming out. So that's probably what this was really all about. And I feel like people were really kind of just overreacting to like what this really was. But it's interesting because if you look at some of the top comments, right, it's like, so all the self-love was a lie. And it was like a lot of people seemed to be upset about the fact that she is losing weight, right? The old you is what motivated women to love themselves. It's like, it's almost like people are upset with the fact that she has lost weight. And I just find that to be so interesting because it is so just different than what most people would go through, right? A lot of people, they lose weight and people are happy for them. But when you make your entire identity and everything about the fact that you are a bigger person, say if you decide that you want to lose weight, or God forbid, there's a health complication that comes because of your size and you have to lose weight, you're now dealing with people being upset with you because you have to lose weight. And I mean, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. All in all, I am very curious to see where this goes because, like we all know, losing weight is just 10% of the battle. You know, keeping that weight off is really where things become difficult and when it's, you know, it's hard to maintain that. And so I hope that she's been able to find a lifestyle that is maintainable for her and it's something that she's able to stick with. But I'm very curious what this will be like for her because we've always talked, I mean, at least I've always talked about on the channel about people that are, their whole identity is being bigger. And then when they lose weight and it makes people upset, I'm always curious how they will exist on the internet and how that will affect, you know, their life moving forward. And it seems like for the most part, there is a lot of support for Lizzo. There are obviously detractors, people that are upset, especially with all of those very serious allegations that happened earlier last year. You know, there are people that are, I think it's fair for them to have some, you know, be a little bit like standoffish because of everything that's gone on there. And, you know, Lizzo has always been pretty over the top and pretty vocal. So, you know, like with any celebrity, there are going to be people that like her and people that dislike her. I don't really know how I feel. I'm kind of like in the middle. I don't like hate her, but I'm definitely not like a huge Lizzo fan. I think it's just kind of in the middle. And I am very curious to see what this will look like, say, in a year, right? Like, how will she be able to maintain this weight loss? Is this something that is like, is this the new her, or is this just a small little sliver of what might be in the future? I don't really know, right? So I am very curious about what y'all think down in the comments section down below. If you know a little bit more about the Lizzo lore, please let me know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.